Petition restrict emergency management days for violent and high-risk prisoners to be considered.
Dr Heath.
Thank you, President. This is a speech I don't want to be giving today about a horrible situation that I wish did not exist. However, despite the warnings and the pleas, this government refuses to act on an issue, so we are left with the situation where over 6,500 Victorians have signed a petition to this parliament calling for action. That is in addition to the over 20,000 people that have called for action on a change.org petition. And the action that they seek isn't something extreme, it's not something controversial, or it's not even something that people are divided on. It is something that is nothing short of disgraceful, and it must be fixed. This petition centres on emergency management days, or EMDs, which are awarded to Victorian prisoners and reduces their sentences. The EMDs were originally meant for extreme examples of prisoners that were denied their normal entitlements. Up to 4 days of a prisoner's sentence can be removed for every 1 day they were inconvenienced due to industrial actions, emergencies, disruptions or deprivations. However, because COVID was declared an emergency, prisoners are getting hundreds of days off their sentences, some even more than a year. As the petition states, over the 2 years where Melbourne and Victoria suffered through the world's longest COVID-19 lockdowns, thousands of prisoners received more than 360,000 days off their prison sentences. This is equivalent to over 1,000 years of jail time. The reason for this petition came into being because of a meeting I had with Bianca Unwin and her dad Boyd. Bianca's sister Katie was murdered in 2018 by her partner Shane Robertson. Robertson was sentenced to 24 years of jail, 19 without parole. However, in May this year, Bianca was advised that Robertson had his sentence reduced by 427 days due to COVID. This will mean that he is now eligible for release earlier than his non-parole period. Since being informed about this reduction, via a generic email, by the way, Bianca and her dad Boyd and their family have done everything they can to raise the issue and do something about it. Despite being irreparably broken, her and her dad are here today, and they have continued the fight for justice. This government argues that as part of the COVID-19 response, prisoners have experienced restrictive regimes, such as significantly less hours of outer cell to support physical distancing, or lockdowns being placed in quarantine. In fact, one of the reasons that this was given is that these violent prisoners were only allowed out of their cell 1 hour a day. Now, doesn't that sound familiar? Now, it's true that but one of the fundamental reasons for sentencing people to prison, aside from community safety, is to make them understand the cost of their crime. That includes not being able to go where you want, when you want, and see who you want. Further, during the pandemic, many parts of Victoria were also told that they would only be allowed out for 1 hour a day. So how is it that prisoners get more entitled to more compensation than any other Victorian? Now, I want to make this clear. The sickening irony here is that if you were a Victorian that missed a loved one's funeral, you will not get compensation for that time during COVID. Yet, if you were somebody that murdered someone in Victoria during this COVID period, you will get compensation. That is disgusting. The injustice is an affront to every person who suffered tangible disadvantages during the COVID period. Those who lost their jobs, their incomes, those who couldn't celebrate a wedding, a birth or a birth of a new baby, those who couldn't say goodbye to their loved ones. Unless you're a Dan Andrews zealot, you will understand that these lockdowns affected all of us, and this is something that is still being felt today. Now, the people that continue to suffer the most are those who have lost loved ones due to violent crimes, who are seeing the offenders get compensation in the way of hefty sentence reductions. Violent prisoners don't deserve compensation for something we all went through. The inconvenience experienced by prisoners pales into insignificance when it comes to the loss that people like Katie's family and communities have suffered.